Hi guys, welcome back to Chef Brit Racing. So something a bit different today. I'm going to show you how I edit and make my videos. All the software that I'm using in this video is completely free. Hopefully some tips and tricks in here will help you with how you create your videos in the future. So once I've captured my video, I then head over to a platform called DaVinci Resolve. And DaVinci Resolve has a free and a paid version, but the version I'm using today is all completely free. So the first thing I want to do is import my video from my recording. So let's go ahead and do that first. Okay, so once my video has been imported into the timeline, I always record the qualifying, but I typically don't feature those in my videos. I don't want videos to be too long. I want them to be interesting, good races, they get straight to the action early doors. But if there is a particularly good qualifying, I may include those, but I typically don't. So I would normally do my piece to camera, which kind of covers off what the race video is going to be at the start here, and I can normally see those are normally bunched up because it kind of gives the context of the video and the race you're about to watch. So I would typically move my cursor close to that point, and then I would then trim the timeline to remove all of the earlier footage, then bring that piece right into focus. And at this stage now, I know I'm going to be editing my intro over here. So I'm just going to zoom in to make this a little bit easier to do. Okay, so I can now see that I've got my timeline, and at the moment I've got a bit of a gap here. I don't want this gap. I want it to be kind of going straight into the action and giving context to the race you're about to watch. And you will see in a lot of my videos, I probably have several goes at trying to get this right. Sometimes I'll be recording it and then Jim will be obviously giving the countdown. So I think that's probably what happened here. So I suspect this probably is my last one here. So I'll just check that's the case. Cool, so I've got my intro section here. So the first thing I'm going to now do is I'm going to scrub back. I'm just going to go back a couple of frames. I'm going to remove the earlier part. Then I'm going to bring that into here. Now, the audio is a little bit high for my liking, so you can see we're slightly clipping. So I'm going to go to the audio channel, and from here I can do normalize audio levels. And DaVinci is really good at balancing the audio to get a nice consistent tone, so you don't get really loud audio at the start and then different pacing audio elsewhere. So I will do that. So I'm going to normalize the audio. I'm going to set the target levels to be negative 11 dBs, so do normalize. Cool, and then I'll just sort of see what that listens to. So I might find that's a little bit on the quiet side, so it may just increase it slightly. See how that sounds. Cool, so I'm happy with that now. Cool, so I've now got my opening intro. So I would typically do a fade. There's lots of different fades you can work through, so you can bring these predefined fades here. There's lots of different ones. I typically use these ones when I'm actually cutting into the race itself. So for the start of the race, I'm just going to use this little section here. I can drag over, and that will give me a slight soft dissolve as I go into the video. So if I want to, I can just make that a little bit more progressive. Cool, so we've now got the fade. So now I've got the fade into here. So we've got our piece to camera just happening here. So I would typically then have my normal cue from where I'm in the race, so where I'm in the intro, where I go over to the race. Cool, so I'm now going to use the cutting blade. I'm going to make a cut here. So I know that I'm happy with my intro here, and I'm going to work that through. So I'm going to save that now. I've kind of got a theme tune that I've used for a lot of my videos, and I got this theme tune from YouTube royalty-free music. So you go to YouTube, you look for different tunes, there's a variety of different music available to you to use that's completely royalty-free that you can use on your videos with no copyright strike issues. So I'm going to import that audio now. So I go to import media. I've got my intro, and I've got my music, and the music I'm using is called Heavy Humor. So I'm going to grab that. So I'm going to drag that into here. Now by default, this audio is too loud. I don't want the music to be overpowering. It's just there as a subtle bit of background music that's sort of consistent and makes my videos recognizable to what I work in. It hopefully at the start just gives a bit of feel for the race as well. So I'm just going to just lower that audio down slightly and see how that sounds. Cool. Cool, so I've got my audio now. So that track is actually, so we've now got 3 tracks set up now. We've got the video track, kind of my game and audio track, and then my kind of music track. And I will typically probably clip that down, but for the time being, I'm happy with that. So now I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to try and locate the point where the race starts, where Jim will kind of typically go. I don't tend to show the start of the race. I would normally go straight into the race itself, so that's fine now. In this particular one, it wasn't a standing start, so I'm just going to scrub through. Cool, so we can see here by the audio cue that typically Jim is going to be calling it out that the race is going to start. So I'm just going to move on a couple of frames. Cool. So I'm just using my keyboard here just there. So I've now got the start of the race. I'm going to select this block, and then again I'm going to trim the start of the race. And now I'm actually going to move this and put it next. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to drag that over. And that now clips. So effectively, I will then have my intro with my music and giving context to the race. And sometimes I will actually edit. If I'm kind of umming and ahhing and the big pauses, I would try and do that. And I don't think this one's too bad. So there isn't too much. In fact, I could possibly trim down the start here. But again, if you go straight into the audio where you're blurring, it's a bit confusing. So there isn't too much in there. So I'm broadly happy with that one. Cool. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of go from my piece of camera explaining the race you're about to see, and then go straight into here. So I'm now going to drag the blur resolve. So to grab this, I grab that blur resolve, and I will then put it between these two sections. And you can see here that you can get this nice effect where you can actually lengthen this out if you want a much stronger blur dissolve. I actually want this to be kind of like quite quick. So it kind of goes from my intro to the race, and we're sort of ready and prepped to go. So let's see how that looks. So I'm going to hit space just to play it. Cool. Sweet, so I'm happy with that now. So we've now got the intro, the music, and the start of the race. And I would typically let the first couple of laps, because if you follow iRacing, if you watch any of the videos, most of the dramas and things typically happen at the start of the race, where drivers are over ambitious with what they're doing with their sort of cold brakes and cold tires. So in this particular race, I actually qualified second. So there was a good chance if I could get a good into turn 1, turn 2, that actually if I could, all the carnage would be my rear view. And for the most part, that's what happened. So I would typically then run that through. So we can see through, we actually managed to get through. We're now battling this guy. Now for this particular race, which I will put a link into the description, it was a great race. This guy was really respectful. We battled pretty much for 1 and 2, and the positions of those changed back and forth throughout the race, which is quite rare in iRacing. You often get somebody that is too bolshy, trying to go for a dive bomb and will knock you off. But it was a really great battle, really respectful, and it really kind of worked for him. And most of the kind of carnage happened in the rear view mirror. Now, so then what I would typically do is I would then start to look at the race, and if there's a particular periods where I'm racing on my own that aren't that interesting, I would then start to kind of cut those down and chop those through to kind of edit the video and working through it. I think for this particular race, it was a really close race all the way through. So I don't think that there are any edits, but let's see if I was just trying to find one, just an example of what I would do there. So let's see here. So I can see here there's a big gap between me speaking. So the chances are maybe this is a quiet period. I'm trying to catch up to the guide. Typically here, I can see that there wasn't much commentary happening from me. I was kind of reliant on what was happening from the game audio. So I might just have a quick look around here. Yeah, this is a good example. Okay, cool. So at this point, I'm actually leading the guy in front. So there's kind of a gap where it's interesting from a kind of race point of view, but I might choose just to shorten the video down, just to kind of keep it within a sort of a manageable time frame. So let's just use that as an example. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. Cool. So I'm going to grab the paper cuts section. And I'm going to choose that as the first starting point. I'm going to make my second cut around here, because again, it's cool. So I've now isolated this section, and then I'm going to use a selector. So just an example, in this bit section here, it's mostly me just leading this guy, which, it was good for me, but isn't the most interesting video point of view. So I'm now going to choose this section, and I'm going to delete it, which is backspace. So that's now gone. So that space is now cut that video, and I'm going to bring these two frames together now. And then again, when you get closer, they will start to snap. Now at this point now, I'm going to use the same kind of blur dissolve as we did in the intro. I'm going to drag that over and tag those into there. So now it should go from one cutscene to the other cutscene. Cool. I think now as the race continues, I'm pretty much talking and battling with this guy all the way through. So I'm happy that the kind of middle points of the race where either I was leading or he was leading, there wasn't much happening. I've kind of chopped those down. So we've got a good start, some good commentary. And obviously from this point, I can see that I'm pretty much chatting all the way through the race. So there's a good chance that I'm happy with how that kind of played out. So now I'm happy that I've got the end. So if I press Shift and square brackets, that will now trim my video. So now I brought all of that part, so I don't need any more context to the video. Now to try and kind of complete the video, I've edited on Canva a little mini video that just sort of says thank you for watching and a little note to my channel. So I'm just going to go and get that little video now. So import media, which is called Shift Brick Race again. So this is just a video that I edited actually on Canva. Export it as an MP4 and I'll bring that in. So I'm going to drag that in. I'm going to tag that into here. Now the audio for this is a little bit too high, so the same as before, I'm going to normalize the audio levels. Now I'll finish my final thank you, then I'll go to the goodbye. So the next stage you want to do is go to deliver. If you go to the deliver, and then I've set up a 1080p configuration here. And this is set to kind of high quality, so it goes into YouTube in the best quality I can. So then I'm going to add to my render queue. Okay, so now I've got my video. I then would hit render all. So this will render through, and we will now scrub through and wait till the end, and then we'll have the final video rendered. Okay, so at this point now I've gone into YouTube Studio, and I'm going to upload the content for the files I'm trying to use. Okay, so with the video now, something new which I haven't tried it. There's this A/B split testing, so I would typically now try and then define what the title is going to be and the thumbnail. I'll cover the thumbnail in a second. First of all, I'll go ahead to a description. So I would typically start with one I've done recently and then maybe edit myself or use ChatGPT to help me tweak that. So let's go and grab a title, and I'll use ChatGPT to try and improve this title for that one. Okay, so we're now going to ChatGPT. So I've taken a title from a previous video, given ChatGPT some context to what I'm trying to achieve and what I want from this video, and see what options it gives me. Cool, so there's a couple of good options here. So let's see. So which should I choose? So we're going to grab that one. And then we now want the description. Cool. Okay, so we'll grab that again. Now I would probably tweak it as well. So obviously it's giving me a great suggestion. I would typically go ahead and tweak this and remove bits that I'm not quite happy that don't kind of fit my tone. But for this video, that's absolutely fine. And then it's giving me a few options for these. So to offense that, again, that one's quite a good starting one, so we can go with that one. Okay, so then I would choose my playlist. So I'm going to put this on my iRacing playlist. So if people want to watch more of my iRacing videos, they're all in one place. So then you can put the category. So in here, I'm going to choose iRacing. Everything's prepped now for the video. So I've got it all prepped. So I've got my title and my new description, the relevant hashtags. The next thing I now need is the thumbnail. So let's go into iRacing. I'll show you how I capture my thumbnails, and then I'll show you how I edit those in Canva, and then we'll put all the video together. Okay, so now I've opened up iRacing. I'm in the iRacing editing, and this can be a really tricky part. I'm trying to find interesting moments that capture the essence of the race can be hard, particularly if there's not been a lot of drama in the race. So I've started with this angle, which I'm going to work through. So I've gone with I've chosen my driver as the main focal point. I've chosen my kind of rear chase. So now I'll press Control F12, and I can start to play and adjust with this recording. So first of all, we're going to kind of spin the camera around to try and get a bit of perspective. And typically I would try and have my camera focused where you can see my car, the other cars, and this kind of focal point is going to be interesting, and where we can add some kind of extra comments around the race. Cool, exit. So I'm just going to get rid of that now. So now we've got sort of the angle that we're going for now. At this stage, when I wanted to capture the thumbnail, I want to capture the best image, and typically probably in motion and without actually all of this. So the first thing I'm going to do is just get rid of the cluster. So I've set up spacebar, which will remove all of the UI, and then I'm going to start the video, and then I'm going to use F12. So F12 is Steam's capture point. It will capture the full screen, giving me the best possible image I want to that point, and then I can start editing that image down actually in Canva to work out what I want. So I would probably go back a little bit where I've got time to capture what I want in the action, and then I'll have 2 or 3 different frames to play with. So I'm just going to put that back on screen. We're going to go back a couple of frames that we want. We're going to show that, and then we're going to get ready to play. So again, I've captured a variety of different points there. Okay, so we've now gone into Canva. I've created a blank thumbnail and I've uploaded my image. The first thing I've done is just kind of clipped the action. So obviously we're using F12, we've got the full frame, but I actually want to zoom in a little bit more, just so that the car is a bit more front and center. So now I'm going to go over to edit. So I would typically work around saturation, just try and give a bit more punch to the color. So if I obviously take the saturation down, it goes more black and white, but I actually just want to increase the saturation slightly, just to give it a bit more punch for the YouTube videos. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and add a title for my video. So I have asked ChatGPT for some options for the thumbnail title and what is the best font. It suggested Anton, so I've gone with that for now. So let's just make this a little wider, see if I can get onto one line. We can. Okay, so at the moment it's in here. I'm just going to bring this down a little bit. And we may want to just kind of put that at a bit of an angle, so we can just go ahead and rotate that if we want, just to kind of make it a little bit more dramatic, so it's kind of above the cars. Brilliant. Let's just make it a little bit bigger, so we're maximizing what people will see, trying to draw people's eye into the video. Again, I'm not an expert at this by any stretch. I've got a variety of different options for my kind of persona. So I have used AI personas, and I've also used Bitmoji in the past, but I'm actually going to use ones that I've got kind of as part of my branding. So I'm going to upload one of those now. Okay, so I've got my persona ready in here. So let's make this nice and punchy so you can see. Cool. So we've got my kind of face is excited to see, can I do it again? Now, what I'm going to do now, I'm now going to set a shadow on this to put a kind of a shadow to kind of emphasize that. So we go over to the shadows, I'm going to choose outline, and we're going to go, oops, not that one, choosing the video, we'll just undo that. We want me, not the video, we want outline, and then we will go with a white outline. Cool. Okay, so I've exported my thumbnail. I'm now back in the ChatGPT chat. It knows the context of what we're trying to do. And now I'm going to see if it's got any suggestions it can give me for my thumbnail. It's giving me a few options. So I might actually just take that actually. So we're just going to shorten this down. We're going to do second win. And then actually from there, we can actually make this a little bit bigger. So we can do that. Cool. Okay, so I have my video, my thumbnail. I'm now going to export this, attach it to my video, and then that'll be ready to upload. Okay, brilliant. So I can see that my video's passed all its checks. Okay, so I hope you found that useful. So the actual race that this video is editing, it will also be available on the channel. I'll give a link to that in the description. So if you'd like to check out the race as well, that would be great. All the software and tools I've used here are completely for free. I have been using a paid generative AI tool recently for thumbnails. I'll do a separate video on that soon, giving my thoughts as to whether it's worth paying for that subscription. But if you enjoyed the video, a thumbs up is always appreciated. If you're new to Chef Brick Racing, you'd like to subscribe, that would be great. I'll be back with some more iRacing videos soon. Take care, thanks for watching, bye for now.